Good morning, Ginger. This small iceberg, a rare sight in Atlanta, and as you said, the snow flurries are still in the air this morning. This city is shut down. The few snow plows they have here are out clearing the roads. Hard to believe the pictures from North Carolina highways this morning. Drivers stuck on the ice all night. It looked just like Atlanta 2 weeks ago when 2 inches of snow, and some would say poor planning, led to this. Overnight, out of control car. And trucks, fire, and ice holding up even rescue vehicles. Like this ambulance in Atlanta, the neighbors had to get out with their shoes and dustpans to clear a path. Go, go, go! And this fire truck in Raleigh. Whiteouts caused spinouts, these trucks here nearly colliding. Some drivers, again, just giving up and walking away from their cars. The National Guard is working 24/7 as a miserable mix of snow, ice, and rain hugs the East Coast. Hundreds of thousands of families are without power, and the snow isn't the only thing falling.
Terrifying. Hearing the tree crack and watching it fall from my window and landing on my daughter's room was very traumatic.
Roofs are giving way too.
I was standing out here playing with my kids, and next thing I know, I seen the roof caved in.
Live wires are breaking in two from the sheer weight of the ice.
My house was shaking.
This storm is very unpredictable. It's one of the toughest storms we're going to see in our history, most likely.
This storm has stranded passengers on I-40 in Tennessee, shut down the federal government, and it's about to put a big thorn in the middle of Valentine's Day deliveries this week. Robin?
It will do that. All right, Steve, thank you. As we mentioned, a real mess also in North Carolina. Highways there turning into parking lots.
Take a look at what we're seeing. A lot of drivers found themselves caught in this storm. We're here driving along Glenwood Avenue here in Raleigh, and this is being dubbed a parking lot here. Several cars stranded on the side of the road, drivers choosing to abandon their car to seek shelter from the many shelters that opened overnight. We are seeing several reports of accident, a handful of fatalities being reported, and thousands of power outages here across the state in North Carolina. Cleanup is underway. Our Department of Transportation plowing the snow, towing cars. And you know, it's not over for us just yet. We are in for another round of sleet and snow coming at us in just a few hours.
South Carolina and Georgia got a bit of a shake last night. An earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 4.1 shook homes and rattled residents' nerves. It was centered in the rural community of Edgefield, South Carolina, but could be felt hundreds of miles away.
Well, I don't know if we just had an earthquake or not, folks, but the building here at Watch Fox definitely just shook.
This crack in the road is evidence of what happened in South Carolina Friday night. A 4.1 magnitude earthquake struck near the town of Edgefield.
Approximately 10:30, we felt a rumbling here at the State Emergency Operations Center, and we initially thought it was a helicopter. We looked out, there was no helicopter landing.
The quake could be felt throughout the state, and people as far away as Tennessee and Virginia reported feeling it. No injuries were reported, but the rumbling shook plenty of nerves.
Our phones here started really blowing up. Numerous calls. Then we saw social media. What was that? Was there an earthquake, et cetera, et cetera?
We were unhooking.
It was kind of one of those when it happened as we were looking at each other. They're running out, the weather open is playing, and I'm like, do I stand here and wait for it? See if a light falls on me? Or
yeah, that's the first thing. I was like, this equipment's coming down.
All for himself in that instance. Gotta go. We're on the 6th floor of the building here.
We thought it'd be funny to read some of the comments off of Facebook.
Oh, boy.
All right, so I'm gonna go with my buddy Glenn Gann. He wrote, "I thought I was losing my freaking mind. We had an earthquake? Really?" Bartley wrote, "What just happened? My entire house just shook." All right. My man Billy Tabor wrote, "Just felt my first earthquake." Tracy Clinton Walker, my neighbor, just wrote, "Anybody else just feel their house shake?" Snow and an earthquake all in 1 week. The world is definitely coming to an end. Y'all better get right with Jesus.
But, you know, usually right at the beginning of an earthquake, you get ready to run because you feel it out. You're like, is this going to stop or is this going to keep going?
I was about
Well, Live TV.
Yeah.
You gotta love it.
Yeah. On a Friday night.
Saw it here first, only on Watch Fox.
It's Valentine's Day.
It's not just Britain that's suffering extreme weather events just now. Indonesia has suffered torrential rain, whilst the United States has been split between fierce drought and Arctic conditions. And what's more, it could be linked to what is happening right here. So is it all about climate change? Our science editor, Tom Clark, with help from our correspondents in Asia and North America, has this report.
The floodwater in Thames Valley villages like Raysbury still hasn't gone away. And with rain from yet another spectacular storm today, there'll be more flooding to come. So don't think of jumping in a car around here anytime soon. Take the storms, unusually frequent and powerful, heading straight into us off the Atlantic. Then the rain. There's evidence recent heavy rainfall events bring a bit more rain than historical rainfall extremes. And that's meant our rivers, like the Thames, have flooded higher for longer than previously recorded. But it's what's happening elsewhere on the planet that links our misery to global warming. Thousands of miles away in the Pacific, unusually warm oceans caused wild weather too.
You may not have heard at the time, but December and January were exceptionally wet in Indonesia. More than 20 people lost their lives, and tens of thousands were displaced by heavy rain, landslides, and flash flooding. Those storms also pushed the Pacific jet stream, a narrow, fast-flowing wind, to the north, and that changed the world's weather. So if you want to lay the blame somewhere, you could try Indonesia.
And it matters because the Pacific jet stream's reach extends all the way to California.
We're here by the San Fernando Valley on the northwestern side of Los Angeles County. And people around here tell me it's rained just once in the past 9 months. You can see just how dry the conditions are. It's actually winter here, but January saw record scorching temperatures, at one point reaching 32 degrees Celsius.
Another volcanic eruption in Indonesia. This time, Mount Kelud on the island of Java has forced the evacuation of over 200,000 people. Joining me now is the Wall Street Journal's Ben Otto by telephone. Okay, Ben, this has been called one of Indonesia's most dangerous volcanoes. Tell us about this latest eruption.
Well, they came on really suddenly. It wasn't until last night that volcanologists from the government agency raised the volcano alert to its highest status. It then erupted really late last night, sending ash about 17 kilometers into the sky. The extent of the damage wasn't really clear until this morning. They found that ash had rained down on villages as far as 15 kilometers away from the peak. And like you said, up to 200,000 people are being evacuated. As of 6 a.m., 100,000 already were. The danger now is that the ash is continuing to go across the island, and so it, I think by morning it hit Yogyakarta about 200 kilometers. It hit Yogyakarta about 200 kilometers away. Now it's just hit Bandung, which is far in western Java, about 500 kilometers away, and there's some worry that it could hit the capital of Jakarta at 600 kilometers.
A common sight across the USA's northeast as a huge snowstorm causes whole cities to grind to a standstill. Snow-covered streets were almost deserted in the capital, where even the federal government has shut down. Around 30 centimetres of snow blanketed the Washington, D.C. area in a weather system that has affected about 22 states and caused at least 18 deaths.
I've been out here since 4 o'clock.
I've never seen snow in Washington, D.C. before.
I hate it. My shoes just got completely wet. My socks are wet. My feet are cold. It's cold.
The National Weather Service has described the storm as an event of historical proportions. It's even reached the generally mild south of the country, forcing the cancellation of around 6,500 flights. And the conditions seem likely to continue to wreak havoc over the weekend.
The president and the vice president have cancelled all public events, and there is even more snow to come in the days ahead, as America is bracing for a long weekend. Washington will fall into deep sleep until at least Tuesday. Stefan Grobe, Euronews at the White House.
A series of unusual earthquakes rattled Oklahoma overnight, the largest a magnitude 3.8. Those quakes follow a rare pair of jolts in South Carolina. The first on Friday registered a magnitude 4.1. That was near the border with Georgia. A few miles away, a 3.2 aftershock hit on Sunday afternoon.
CBS News contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at the City College of New York. His new book, The Future of the Mind, goes on sale next week. Good morning, Professor. How are you?
Good morning.
The folks in South Carolina say earthquakes aren't actually that unusual, but this one was, I think, the second biggest since like 1950.
That's right. You have to go back 30, 50 years to find earthquakes of this magnitude. Now, when you think of earthquakes, you think of California. You think of plates rubbing against each other like the San Andreas Fault. This is different. We are in the middle of the North American plate. How can there be an earthquake here in the middle of a plate? This is called an intraplate earthquake, an earthquake that takes place inside one of the plates.
We've got pictures of a huge sinkhole that has opened up there. 17 homes affected. Siobhan Robbins joins us from there. Siobhan, what can you tell us?
Well, I can describe the scene in front of me now. Basically, what I can see is I'm standing behind the police cordon, and I can see police in the garden of a relatively new house, and at the corner of that garden, just by the porch, all of the garden where there were previously bushes and hedges has completely disappeared.
Just 19 and charged with murdering a man, Miranda Barber already risks the death penalty. Now, though, she's reportedly admitted killing a whole host of people across the United States as part of a satanic cult, saying, "When I hit 22, I stopped counting." Psychiatric tests are to be carried out on Barber and her husband, Elliot, who's jointly charged with murdering the man in Pennsylvania. A local newspaper says in an interview in prison she confessed to a 6-year killing spree.
She was very well-spoken, very mild-mannered, very polite. I mean, she was very polite and very just soft, very soft. And she never hesitated in anything she said.
In December, the couple pleaded not guilty to killing Troy LaFerrara, whose body was found dumped in an alley. Miranda Barber's now reportedly admitted slaying the 42-year-old, who said to have answered a bogus advert she placed online offering sex for $100.
There's been a string of bizarre deaths in the globe's financial circles. In the past few weeks, 5 high-profile bankers have died, all from apparent suicides. Tessa Arcilia investigates.
Their untimely deaths grabbed headlines, 3 of which happened within a week. Be it the big investment banks they worked for, the senior positions they held, the public nature of their deaths, or all 3, once again it raised questions about an industry largely blamed for bringing the global economy to its knees in the 2008 financial crisis.
It's difficult to see from here. It's actually behind me, behind these flats and round the corner in a garden there. But this opened up at around 6 o'clock last night when police were called. It's about 5 foot wide and then 15 to 20 foot deep. There are around 20 sinkholes every year in the UK, but often we don't really notice them because they might pop up in a farmer's field. But in the last month, as Emma was saying in her report, there have been 4 in residential areas, and people are concerned that because of this ongoing bad weather, we could